What happens when the narcissist tells you to move on? Or maybe you've been in a relationship for a little bit and he suggests, "Hey, I think you should go be with someone else. I'm not the person you need to be with. I'm not good enough for you," whatever it might be. And he's pushing you towards another person, or he's pushing you towards moving on past him. Maybe you wonder about the motives behind the narcissistic statement and also how to respond when you're like, "No, I don't want to move on." What is he actually doing when it seems like there's a push and a pull, or just pushing you away when the narcissist tells you to move on? So it's a little bit different than a video we did recently of talking through about when other people are saying, "Just get over it, just move on." What happens when he's telling you to just move on? Join me today as we dive into the intricacies of the narcissist behavior when they tell you to move on and how to navigate some of this manipulation. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations and the creator of the NARC app and your guide in the 45-day Clarity Challenge that you can access at claritychallenge.net. My whole goal is to try to help people have awareness about what narcissism is and then learn how to be able to heal from it. Understand the tools that we try to be able to provide through the Clarity Challenge, through the Thriver community, of enabling you to stand up in power of who you're actually called to be and not let the narcissist further control you anymore, but instead let you actually have the freedom and the peace that you deserve from the abuse that you've coming out of. So when we talk about this piece of back and forth, a lot of times the narcissist is known to manipulate situations, right? To gaslight, to confuse, to further just abuse in the thought process. Well, this manipulation happens in the relationship of the highs and the lows, the push and the pull, the back and the forth, but it also happens when the narcissist tells you, just move on. And so I wanted to first talk about understanding narcissistic motives underneath this. So you have a narcissist that tells you move on. It's not because they're like, "Oh, I realize that I'm an abusive asshole and you should actually move on and not be with me because of me." No, that's not what they're looking at. It's not driven out of a genuine concern for your well-being. Instead, a lot of times this is a manipulation tactic, making you, getting to a place of still having control over you and helping trigger you. So all narcissism is trying to trigger the other person into compliance or trigger them into a reaction, but to trigger you to maintain control over you, but to trigger feelings of doubt or provoke a reaction that feeds their ego. So a narcissist might be saying like, "Oh, you should just leave. You should just move on. You should go to someone else." It might be a piece of just trying to trigger you to make you think like, "Well, they're saying that I should leave. Maybe there's something wrong with me." Like, "Well, no, I don't want to leave because I love you, because I care about you." And it starts this back and forth dynamic that the narcissist realizes like, "Hey, I can push this person farther. Like, I can abuse this person more." It might also just get a reaction. A lot of narcissistic supply is not based on how much you love that person or even how much attention you pay to that person, but it's the reaction they get from you. And so it could even be a ploy to be able to get a reaction from you to still feel in control over you. Think of it this way. You might be in an argument and the guy in your life, he's like, "Hey, you just need to move on." And it's been right after a disagreement, after this like tense emotional time. And it's there as an attempt to invoke this sense of insecurity and doubt about your own feelings and your own actions. Maybe you're already at the place where you're like, "Yes, I need to leave. I need to get out of here." And he's like, "Yeah, I think you should move on." And then you're like, "Wait." And it starts to provide this like opportunity for him to start getting into your head. Now, when a narcissist gets into your head, there's a couple different ways that this happens. One of the most popular ways that narcissists will mess with your reality, mess with your head, mess with your mindset is through gaslighting. Gaslighting and having you believe an alternate version of reality, a different story, a different belief, a different thought process. And they might use some of these phrases as a form of gaslighting to make you question the validity of your emotions and the validity of your experiences. You might be thinking, "Oh, this is an abusive person that's going to trap me and keep me forever." And he's like, "No, I think you should move on." And you're like, "Wait a second, you don't even care that I'm leaving?" Like, there's so many different nuances of it, but it can be to try to doubt your reality and the things that are happening in the relationship. Okay? Sometimes it's just to invalidate you, to make you feel like your opinion, your thoughts, your feelings don't matter. Now, with this, it's done to undermine your confidence and control the narrative. Think of it this way. If a narcissist lets you leave, a narcissist says, yeah, I think you should move on, then he's going to take that story to other people and be like, yeah, she just wasn't happy here, so I told her to go. He's going to use different phrases to try to make you look like the bad person and himself look like the good person. I didn't hold on to her. I didn't keep her. She kept coming back to me. I don't know why she kept coming back to me. I told her to move on. I told her it was in her best interest. I told her that she was obsessed with me. And like, it's not healthy for her to have that connection with me. Like, all different types of things. They'll try to do whatever they can to change your reality, to smear you, to undermine your confidence, and ultimately control the narrative. You see, for a narcissist, the whole goal is let me control the narrative. Let me make sure that you know and respond to certain things. You act and respond a certain way, and that other people think certain things about me. So as the narcissist, the whole idea is like, let me do whatever I need to do to look good and to appear a certain way in front of friends, family, coworkers, people that are in our sphere of influence, so that I don't feel bad about myself, and so other people don't actually hold me accountable for who I actually am. So think of it this way. Like, you might be saying like, hey, I feel like I need to leave, or I feel like I'm really concerned about how you're showing up, about your behavior, of how you're being aggressive, of how you're being responding to this. And he's just dismissive. Like, being like, you know what? If you don't like it, you can just move on. Then it makes you think in the moment that it's downplaying your concerns. Like, if it was a big deal, he actually would consider it. If it was a big deal, he might actually have a difference of opinion or change his actions. But instead, it just seems like, okay, you don't like it, move on. And then you're left like, okay, maybe I'm making a big deal out of it. Maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. Okay. And so in doing this, the narcissist will invalidate the emotions that you're feeling, invalidate the things that you're thinking, and leave you in a place of distress, confusion, frustration. And then ultimately, you typically start to beat yourself up of like, well, I guess I am making it too big of a deal. I guess it is my fault. I guess. And you start to confuse yourself based on the stories that he's telling you. This is where narcissists step in with the third piece here of manipulating your emotions. When a narcissist tells you to move on, the whole aim here is to provoke an emotional reaction from you. They want you to become more invested, not less. They want you to become more anxious, not less. They want you to become more desperate, not less. And what that does is it provides the narcissist with a sense of power and control. You see, I would like it when people would chase after me. Why? Because if they were chasing after me, that meant I was in control. I had something they wanted. Now I switched that in my mind of the power and control of being love and connection and thinking that it was a good thing when it actually wasn't. Like, I wanted someone to be more invested in me than they were in themselves. I wanted someone to be more loyal to me than they were to themselves. Because if I had that, it was power and control over another person. This is what he's trying to do to you. Like, when he's saying move on, when he's saying just leave, if you don't like it, then go ahead and go, is trying to get you of that push away, sit back, and wait for you to come back. To be more invested, to come back more anxious, more desperate, to get to the place where he's just feeding off of that power and control over you. We see it all the time. This is how he breaks up with you, tells you to move on, you feel crazy, and you keep coming back to him over and over and over again. You're like, this doesn't make sense. I don't even want to be with him, but I still love him and I still care about him and I still want to interact with him. And all of a sudden you're down the road of being stuck in a toxic trauma bond that has this addictive quality. And every time you're away from him, you have these withdrawals. Every time you're away from him, you're like, I don't know what to do. I miss this. And you start to pain shop. You start to stalk social media. You start to go back and forth. All of it because he's got you under his control. Think of it this way. Like you might have your partner suggest, you know what? I think you should move on. Knowing that when he says that, it's going to trigger a fear of abandonment and prompt you to actually seek validation from him. Emotional manipulation. Ultimately, what the narcissist is trying to do is to further trap you, to further lock in the kill, to further lock you into the relationship of like, if I can trigger you, I can control you. I'm going to trigger you so you stay. I'm going to trigger you so you come back. I'm going to trigger you so you get afraid that I'm going to leave you first. And as a result, you're going to continue to stay. The narcissist is trying to keep you trapped. Like on any aspect, the narcissist is trying to keep you trapped in and out of the relationship, mentally, emotionally, trapped in your mind, whatever it might look like. He's trying to keep you trapped. What I want to tell you is you don't have to stay trapped anymore. You can be free from that mental, emotional entrapment. But you have to be willing to step out in faith, understanding that if we help you rewire your mindset, so that you no longer have this pull back to him, so that you no longer have this addictive quality that with the draws that you're like, I need to go back, I need to interact. If we can help you do that, would you want to know more? This is what we do inside of the Clarity Challenge every single day, of walking people through a systematic approach to helping you break free of the trauma bond day to day to day. This is powerful and will help you grow, change, and develop. I don't want you to just take my word for it. Go to claritychallenge.net today to sign up. But before you do, scroll down on the website, because I want you to see and read and hear from other people that have been through the challenge, that have experienced it, and that have gotten free. By going through the processes, by doing the daily work, the daily assignments, by interacting with the community there, and ultimately rising and becoming the person that they're called to be. If that resonates with you, go to claritychallenge.net today. Love to be able to have you a part of that. Would love to help you in your healing. If this video has helped you just understand or move forward in your healing process, then you might want to watch some of the videos that are on your screen in order to be able to help further that progression and further your healing process.